What is going on, everybody? Here we are. We back with another Sunday one. As playoffs start running down, we're gonna start talking some travel league football right now, and we got 2023 travel schedule behind the pads. Nadeem Robinson will be up next. So take this time to share the stream and coming up next. Give me a minute and just be patient. And then after that, we got Coach Jeff Pive is going to join us tonight. Coach Ryan McCormick from UMass Dartmouth. So it's going to be a busy night. We got Coach Na from Behind the Pads. We're going to talk about the 2023 travel schedule. Going to be lit. We got Coach Pive. We're going to touch base with up at North Smithfield. And we're going to end the night. Coach Ryan McCormick, UMass Dartmouth. They playing very good football up at UMass Dartmouth. What's up, everybody? UMass Dartmouth beats Bridgewater. So coming up next, share the stream. Stand by. Up next, Coach Na gonna be in the house talking that travel schedule. We only got a couple elite travel teams in the state. Behind the Pads is definitely one of them. So definitely share the stream. Give me 1 second. I'm going to play. Big shout out to the people that always help make this possible. Big shout out to everybody that be holding it down. Big shout out to Colwell Bankers, Coastal Homes, Mark Wright. Always support people that support youth sports. Big shout out to Rally Point. The only way to stand is together. You already know, big shout out to Recover Rhode Island. Definitely check them out over on Instagram. Look, Christmas is coming. Dola Design. It is what it is. Check them out. Custom made home decor. So grab your popcorn and we'll be right back with Coach Na. Bring him on, see what's going on in the world of Behind the Pads. I was hoping to have some of the high school football coaches on, but things just, we'll definitely get them up on here. Without a doubt. But hold on, we be right back. Let me see if I can get this popping. I want to leave you with hold on 1 second. We're going to play this while we wait for Coach Na. We had the audio.
Yes, sir. It's nice to see you again, or to see you for the first time, and to be on again. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, definitely. When I had you on before, I really didn't even know you was from Rhode Island, and you blessed me with that knowledge. You Sandy Gorham, huh? He's back at Barrington now. Tell us some Sandy Gorham stories.
It's funny. I actually have one. Well, I have two. I don't know if one's appropriate to share, but I'll start with the one that is. So I played for Coach Gorham for 4 years, graduated back in 1990. And Coach Gorham was an All-American, I believe, if I remember correctly, swimmer and football player at the University of Rhode Island. Large man, broad chest, and just full of energy and life. Had a chance to go back last summer and see him. And just an amazing man. Hasn't changed at all. Although he would deny that and say he's much older. He still looks mostly the same. But back when we were in high school, we had a film session where we were gathering together to watch film. And I don't remember the specifics, but what happened was some of us, I'm sure I was guilty as well, were talking when he was talking. And that was not a good thing for Coach Gorham. And I understand that now that I've coached for 25 years. But he said a few words and just said, "I'm E.F. Hutton." And back then they had those E.F. Hutton commercials. When E.F. Hutton speaks, everyone listens. And the reference was lost on most of us. So some of us started giggling. Not a good thing to do. And Coach Gorham walked out the classroom door, slammed the door, and it had a window in the door. And as soon as he slammed, the window just shattered. And you could hear a pin drop because we all thought, we're about to die. Something's going to happen. He came back in a few seconds later, and he goes, "And you're all helping me pay for that." And we did. We all helped him pay for it. And I love the man. He knows football. He knows people, and he was very instrumental in my playing high school football and excelling somewhat, and my desire to continue to play college football. So I absolutely love the man.
Yeah, he's been around a long time. I'm sure he was still doing the what is it? The option
Yep.
offense. Yeah,
Yep.
he's still doing that same
Yes, sir.
offense, and it's been successful for him. Whether it was at East Providence High School, whether it's at Barrington. So congratulations to him, and congratulations to you. I'm sure he'll see this because he's one of them that watches the I call them the closet viewers. The ones that I could be a little controversial at times, as you can see. But
That's all
shout out
right.
to Coach Gorham doing great things up there at Barrington. Fighting for a playoff spot this week. They have to beat Woonsocket, which Woonsocket's always a good program. Do you remember playing some of these Rhode Island programs?
Yes, and no. I jokingly say I know concussions are not a laughing matter. However, I think most of the people my age have had more concussions than we could care to remember. The ones that stand out to me the most um, were Bristol. They were our crosstown, if you will, rivals back then. And if I remember correctly, Bristol and Warren have now combined.
Now it's called Mount Hope.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Well,
Now it's Mount Hope.
back in the day, that was our biggest rivalry. We would play every Thanksgiving, and it was always just a great fight. The Westerly, were they the Westerly Bulldogs?
Wesley Stonington always had a big rival,
Yeah.
yeah. And you remember playing Wesley. Yeah, Wesley's always been a good team,
Yep.
good solid team. You mentioned the Bristol Warren. I've been doing I want to do a show this off season, Mount Rushmore, Rhode Island high school coaches, and the Bristol Warren. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He was that was the Redskins back then, like one of them, right? Warren. I think he played
Warren,
under
yes.
Coach Abruzzi.
I remember the name.
Coach Abruzzi was a legend over there. Foxy Mitchell, maybe won like 32 consecutive games with Warren. So Warren and Bristol were very good programs back then.
Yeah, and to combine those two programs, I can only imagine how that's played out. Who are the teams to beat now in that
Well, right
Barrington
now in
area?
Rhode Island, they just made a fourth team Division One, which is kind of because nobody wants to play the privates. You got LaSalle,
Yep.
and you have Bishop Hendricken. Bishop Hendricken won the last 11 or 12 out of 13
Wow.
D1 state championships. Private school, they get the best of the best. So you have that, and now you have Central, which is Providence. Central Knights, which is starting to be a competitive inner city D1 program, and North Kingstown. Them are basically 4 D1 teams. Now you have D2. You got St. Ray's playing very, very good football. Coach Sassy. Westerly, Westerly is always involved, playing competitive. Cranston West, another program that's always been very, very competitive. Division 3, West Warwick right now is playing very good football along with Moses Brown, another private Moses Brown Quakers. So, Rhode Island, I think, is starting to do a lot better now. We have couple travel leagues, and there's more things for the kids to do year round because we know football is becoming a year round activity. These kids have to do something year round to stay competitive. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree that they need to do something year round. I'm not a fan, and this may I may lose some followers right here. I'm not a fan of year round sports, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, for multiple reasons. I often share with our players multiple times throughout the year that if anyone ever tells them to specialize in one sport, they're either ignorant or selfish. Now, I'm not saying that young men and young women shouldn't specialize if they choose to, but I'm a firm believer that they can play multiple sports and still
Yeah, I just want to show a little bit of the Coach Hines video we had. Coach Hines is he coaches out in San Diego, California, voted 2021 most influential high school coach. We're going to bring on Coach. You all know him, because there's only a couple great travel leagues, and one of them that really been putting the work in Rhode Island. Is Coach Nah. A lot of people know him by Coach Nah, Coach Nadim. You know what I mean? Uncle. Much respect. Behind the pads, getting ready to get it popping with their 2023 travel club tryouts. So we're gonna get him up in here. Our guy, what's going on, Coach?
What's good, brother? What's good, Mike? What's
All
going
right.
on?
Was that introduction worthy?
Yeah. Well, honored, bro. Honored, man, to be back on the show. It's been a minute.
No doubt, man. Yeah, you always get it popping, year round. You're always doing something, man. What's going on with behind the pads? I see you getting ready to, you put your travel schedule together. Talk about it a little bit.
Well, I like to get started, like especially with my travel club. It's tough, being that you coach in the fall. If you're coaching tackle in the fall, because like right now I got my lost my voice. My 12U team. I got my 12U team, the Mount Hope Cowboy 12U, me and my boy Lorenzo Perry, Chris Dame, David Boogans, and my boy Joey Brito. So, coaching knows and we're competitive because there's a difference between like a competitive team and a recreational team. We're competitive. So when you're a competitive organization, there's a level of sacrifice and commitment that you have to, you have to dedicate yourself to that team, to the time and to the effort, because we're competitive. It's not instructional, even though we're still teaching kids how to play football, but it's not an instructional level, bro. We're competitive. So we ask the kids to dedicate and sacrifice and commit. As coaches, we got to do the same. So it's hard for me to get ready for my travel club next year, which is something that I got to do now, because our first tournament is in Texas. In January 28th and 29th, we're in Arlington, Texas. The kids are going to visit Baylor University, and our first shock doctor, that'll be our first shock doctor tournament of the year. So, I got to get started with, small things on right now that I can, but I have to remain committed and dedicated to our 12U. We just finished 7-1 in the Eastern Mass Division I Pop Warner. We went on a hell of a run, bro. We lost our first game 13-19 at Dorchester. We lost week 1. A tough game, but since then we have just pummeled everybody in front of us, and we beat the New England ranked #1 team at the time, Hamden, Connecticut. We beat them a couple of weeks ago. They're ranked #1 at a Pop Warner, AYF. They were ranked #1 out of the whole New England, and we took them down in overtime, 14-6. So, our 12U's had a nice run, bro. So we're really excited with them right now. And with Pop Warner, what this time of year is regionals. Everybody, everybody trying to get to that national appearance again, And the Mount Hope Cowboys are known for national appearances, bro. So again, I got to commit and dedicate to my 12U, but I had to have a sneaky BTP meeting last night, bro. We had to have a sneaky one just to make sure my coaching staff for 2023 is straight. Like you just showed the schedule. I appreciate that, bro. Really intense schedule, because it's like once we go to a shock doctor joint, the next week we're at Pylon. Then we get a couple weeks off. Then we go to shock doctor. Then the next week is Pylon. And then, so it's going to be an intense schedule, man. But I think my parents and our boys can really handle it, man.
Listen, talk about this, because one thing I get a lot is, where did Jalon King come from?
Oh, Jalon King.
Jalon King. Yeah, no
Jalon King.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can speak a little bit about my nephew. All right, so I started off coaching for the Mount Hope Cowboys. I coached Tiny Mike, and at the time, I teamed up with a friend of mine by the name of Jesse King. We call him Scoot. That's Jalon's father. Me and Coach Scoot, we coached together for like 6 years. I was my right-hand man. I was the offensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator. We started at Tiny Mike. We had 5, 6, 7-year-olds. First year, his son and my son. Very first year, his son, my son, and Marquise Buchanan were all on the same team. So funny, bro. My son's a junior right now. Keith is in college, and Jalon.
I see him over there at Classical.
Bro, people would never know that those 3 guys, plus a few others, all played Tiny Mike together. Like it's crazy. It was funny. So ironic, bro. But so yes, Jalan was DN at the time. And I think the next year coming back, we coached, I forgot what year it was, like 2009, 2010. Then the next year coming back, the next year coming back for Tiny Mike, we needed a quarterback. And I seen Jalan, you know, he was 7 years old at the time. He was throwing the ball with my son. I looked at my boy Coach Scoot. I said, Scoot, I'm gonna make your son a quarterback, bro. We're gonna put him at QB this year. He was like, huh? Nah, Jalan's a DN. He said, I'm like, bro, we need a QB. And he's solid, he's accurate. Bro, he was 7 years old then, bro. So I moved him to QB, and he played quarterback. Tiny Mike, Mighty Mike, Junior Pee Wee, JV, varsity. He played QB his whole Pop Warner career. He went to nationals twice. Took his Pop Warner team to nationals twice as a starting QB. But when he got to high school, you know how it is. He went to a high school he wasn't really feeling. Football team was we ain't gonna say no names. So he ended up focusing on basketball for 3 years. But I tell you this, his 8th grade year, I had a 14U team. I had a 14U flag team. It was him, James L. Lassiter, Jakai Washington, Justin Denson, Romeo Cordero at Cranston East. It was Vinny Casieri out in Woonsocket. All these guys was on my 14U flag team. They were nationally ranked number 3 in the country at flag football that year. Jalan was the quarterback for them. And I mean, bro, I'll send you the video. These boys were ruthless, bro. Ruthless. We went to a tournament, lost the first 3 games, and then turned around and went 4-0. Turned around and mopped everybody up. It was so funny, bro. But yeah, he started. So that 8th grade year, he was, oh my God, he was lights out. So then he goes to high school, wasn't really feeling it. He spent the next 3 years playing basketball. And then he finally, last year, I brought him back to 7v7. Well, not last year, this past winter, I brought him back and said, yo, let's go play some quarterback. Let's play some 7v7. And then you go play tackle QB in the fall. He was like, all right, Elk, I got you. So he made 4 tournaments with us last year. You know, he went to he was at Florida State. We went to Panama, Florida. He went to that one. He went to Kentucky. He went to Maryland, and he went to the one in Boston. He did pretty good last spring, but that definitely tuned him up for what he's doing right now in the fall, bro.
Definitely. He played great football all season for Mount Pleasant. You know, Mount Pleasant was right there at the end, you know, almost, you know, had a chance to knock EP out the playoffs if they were to beat Cumberland. Yeah, so it's definitely getting spicy, but we here to talk about behind the pads, man. What's the future with behind the pads?
Well, this is our first year going in being a sponsored team. First year, man. With that, a friend of mine called me the other day and said, "Hey, man, what did you do to apply to? Where did you apply to get that Shock Doctor sponsorship? Where did you apply? What's the app? What's the website?" I told him, bro, anywhere that I'm coaching, anything pertaining to football, if I'm somewhere, better believe I was asked to be there. When I went to Hendricken, I was at Hendricken for 3 years. I didn't go applying and looking. They asked me. Me and my boy Renz with our 12U right now. Renz asked me. I didn't go apply for Shock Doctor. I wasn't even thinking about it. Shock Doctor called us and was like, "We like what you guys did. You came to 3 of our tournaments. You guys had a tough time, but you still came back. You battled." She saw the lady from Shock Doctor was like, "We're not impressed by 5-star and 3-star athletes. We don't care about all that. We're looking for guys with heart, guys that'll come back and keep competing." She was like, would you guys like to be a Shock Doctor sponsored team? I was saying, hell yeah. What?
Shout out to Shock Doctor. Yeah, that's a big sponsorship. And you won something last year, True Shock Doctor, right?
Yeah, they donated $5,000 to us. That's what kind of started the roll. And then it was funny. So we got we went to that tournament. We didn't do too well in that tournament, but we represented because we faced a team from Memphis. Their 5 receivers all were 6'4" and 6'5".
I remember that, yes.
All of them, bro. All of them, cans outside. All of them 6'4", 6'5", and there was a bunch of there's a bunch of commits. A few were going to Georgia, couple of Bama. Like we faced some monsters, bro. So, facing guys like that, you know what I mean? Facing teams like that, and then just coming back home and being able to see what the kids can do now. Locally, it's going to build your confidence.
Oh, that's a fact. And what's going on with the wide receiver school? Is that still going to be popping up?
All right, so I was going, man, I ran into some little troubles. I'm having some family issues right now. My mom's ain't doing too well.
Prayers to Mama Dukes,
Thanks, bro. But, that's kind of holding up the receiver school.
I got
Plus,
you.
I don't want trying to create this business to interfere with our first year as a shock doctor team. I'm probably just going to host a couple classes or open classes and just wait a minute before I open up the business. Because it's that, how it is, starting a new business, and then with BTP coming in 2020, I want to focus on the Shock Doctor sponsorship. Really put out a good product this season. Me and a couple of my guys coming back, like James L. James L's always hitting me like, Coach, we ready? We did it. Then I'm like, yo, bro, just take your time, win the state championship, and then we'll worry about where we gonna go to. You know what I mean? So James L's always hitting me like, Coach, we did it. I'm like, yo, we good, bro. We're gonna you know what I'm saying? We're gonna travel, and we're gonna do a lot better than we did last year. We have to, because there's more on the line.
My opinion, D1 this year is just ass, bro. It's just like,
you can't say that, Mike. You can't.
I keep it real. I could say what I said a lot worse, but I'm just saying, like, we had to go through 8 weeks to get one damn cycle in. There's no continuity. Like, I don't know. Like, 2 and 3 was good, very interesting, very competitive, some great games. 4 was that, but D1 was straight ass. You're like, I'm gonna say it how it is. You know what I mean?
Yo, hold up. Between me and you, especially with all the hype, let's keep it real. There was a lot of hype about D1, bro. I don't want to start.
Oh yeah, nah, that's a fact.
I don't want
there's problems all over D1. It ain't just any particular, but yeah, there was a lot of hype on a lot of shit going on. But nah, that's real. That's real.
And the product just ain't what we expected the product to be. And I sit in the stands at a lot of these games, and I shake my head, bro, because I got a good friend of mine said, bro, this. People don't get me wrong by when I say stuff like this. I love Rhode Island. I moved here. My son's from here. My family's from here. I moved my family here. I love Rhode Island, but I have the ability to look at the outside in, because I'm not from here. Because I can compare it to where I'm from. Mm-hmm. People here don't necessarily have that ability because you've just been here.
This is all you know.
It's all you know. But bro, like, oh my God, man, like.
Nah, it's different. My guy down in the Bronx, down at Lehman High School, shout out to him. I have to get him back up here, and it's a little different once you get, like, football seems to be just an activity in Rhode Island.
And it seems like, I'm gonna say this: we're light years behind the rest of the country. And listen, here's the kicker: it's not the kids' fault.
So how do we get better?
How
do we stand out?
I told you, I told you how we stand out. You want me to tell them again? Want me to tell them again? For the ones that ain't, tell them for the people in the back. I'm gonna listen, and this is not an opinion. This is effing fact. If everybody out there, hope y'all chiming in, y'all listening. Post this again, Mikey, because I'm gonna give them the facts. Here it is. You want the state of Rhode Island to get better at football in a whole? Every single coach in this little ass state has to start preaching the same preach. We cannot have this coach saying this coach saying that coach saying this. Everybody has their own little lingo and little phrases, and changing the name of this and changing the name of that. I'm from New Jersey, bro. At 90% of the cities are feeder programs. The 5, 6, 7-year-olds run the same shit the high school does in that town. And the kids are taught the same language from 5 years old to 18 years old. They're taught the right holes are even, the left holes are odd. They're taught to take the head out of tackling. Everybody's taught that, bro. It's no
Can
training.
I get it? Amen. Hallelujah.
There's There's no change. You cannot change the verbiage, bro. You can. That's the problem in the state. Everybody think half these guys barely can coach anyway. So then you come in with your new verbiage, bro. Which now when the kid goes somewhere else or go to the high school level, the high school coaches are complaining because the kids don't have a clue because Coach Bobby was telling him that instead of whatever, changing the terminology or whatever, all the terminology has to be the same.
No, you're absolutely right. From feeder programs up, I think that's what makes a good high school program, having a good feeder program that runs the similar plays that the high school is going to run. Because if you have a feeder program, you have 3 different divisions, and all the divisions run different ass shit.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Hey, so, Revolt, give me some of that math. Did you hear Revolt gave Matt Hoff for $2.3 million?
Revolt did?
Yep, and he fired everybody.
No, I was souped off of Gilly the Kid and Homeboy getting that $100 million deal with Barstool.
That's big, yeah.
That was huge. That was huge.
Yeah, but I didn't want to cut you off, but I was just thinking, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's a fact. You're absolutely right. And I talked about that with some youth leagues that I think it should be consistent, from the Pee-wees to the Mighty Mites, whatever it is, all the way up to the high school. But definitely.
Here's another thing for if there's any of these older high school coaches watching, you don't listen. If you don't like a certain person or you don't like this guy for what he does, you don't like this guy. The way I just gave y'all to change football, you don't have to like anybody. You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. But we have to teach factual football. We cannot change shit because it's off the willy-nilly. You can't do that. Teach factual football. You ain't got to like me. I'm a carpenter. I go to job sites. I don't like the electrician. I don't like the plumber. The plumber don't like me. But guess what? We're going to all build this building.
That's a fact. And that goes with everything. No matter what you are in life, you're going to have people that don't like you, but you still have to work together and communicate with each other.
Yes, bro. We ain't got to like each other, man. You know what I mean? We don't have to, but let's just all keep it factual based. Stop running around off this opinionated football. Oh, I think we should. No, you can't. If you're running a 4-4 defense, let me tell you guys something. If you're running a 4-4 defense, there is so much in a 4-4 defense that there is no reason for you to run another defense. You feel what I'm saying? Like if you're going to run the 4-4 defense is so packaged based that you don't have to run another defense. You stay in a 4-4, you just shift to different forms. But guys will run a 4-4 and then change the terminology to 5-3 terminology. Or no, bro, run a 4-4, teach the kids how to run a 4-4. I run a 5-3. Right now I run a 6-2. I'm running a 6-2 defense. Technically I'm calling it a 6-5. And I'm learning how to cover with 5 guys and send in 6. I'm telling my secrets right now.
So let me ask you, before I let you go and talk about your schedule coming up, is there any future for Coach Nog coming back to high school?
I'm working on it, bro. All I can, Mikey, we know I got a charge from 1996 back in Jersey. I can't get it cleaned up because Jersey wants me to come and sit down, and I'm not sitting down for a freaking 26-year-old probation violation. I refuse. So if someone, because listen, when they deny you to work, so when you fill out the BCI and then the school department or whoever, they get the email, they don't get your BCI. They just get an email stating that person has disqualifying information. But the decision to hire is still on you, the hirer.
I'm sure Hendy had to go through the same process, right?
Well, I'm not sure how. I'm not sure. I know with Catholic schools, you got to get approved by the diocese, and I'm not sure where they look to how they look.
I'm sure. I think because it's up to the qualifier, it's up to the person, and they probably said, you know what, and that's what a good department would do. We talked about it with Coach Penn in the past, you're gonna do good, Nog. Just keep doing your thing. But everybody check it out behind the pads. 2023 travel schedule. January 28, 29, Texas. Then they're going to Delaware in February 4th and 5th, March 11 and 12th, Arizona, March 18 and 19th, New Jersey. April Fools, 1st and 2nd, Tennessee. Then they're back here in Boston for April 23rd. Then the 29th and 30th out to New Jersey, and then May to be determined June and July. So get on Behind the Pads tour. We got to get you a tour bus. Any sponsors out there with a tour bus? You know what I mean?
Word.
It's a tax write-off. It's a
For sure.
What is it? Gonzalez over there on Cranston Street.
Garcia Gonzalez.
You know what I mean? But like, yo, sponsor. All right, shout out to you, Coach. Now I'm glad you was able to come on because I know playoffs are here. So what's next? Travel football, baby.
Yeah, next week, first round for our 12U, bro. Mattapan again, and then a championship versus Dorchester.
Yeah, salute to you. Good luck. And you also got the three-time NFL returning this year to the NFL championship.
Oh, yeah, they're going. That team, that 14U team, will be at the Patriots Regionals November 12th.
There we go, man. There we go. Shout out to you and everything you do. All right, Coach Nah, thank you.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate it.
Everything. All right, there we go. Coach Nadim, coming up in here. And he's right. If we all talk verbiage, we all keep the message the same from every football level. Do you agree? We're gonna have Coach Ryan. Oh, I got that right. We're gonna have Coach Ryan McCormick up next, but we're gonna reach out to Coach Private, get him in the building. I wanted to holler at him first. Let me get him the link, get him up in here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that was a pretty good conversation with Coach Nadim. So give me 1 second. We're gonna get my guy, Coach Piver, up in here. But first, let me see. No, that ain't gonna work. All right, give me 1 second. Yeah, so I think that was pretty good with Coach Nah coming up in. Had a lot of good things to say. The Behind the Pads tour, I'm gonna put it up right here. These are the dates. Now we have playoff football is here. So what is next? So we're gonna talk to Ryan McCormick. I gotta send him all his information. Working on it now, but we're gonna get Coach Piver up in here before I do. You know what? I'm gonna reset. Come right back. Get Coach Piver up in here and then follow up with Coach McCormick. But shout out to Behind the Pads. You want to support the program, we really appreciate it. You can use the Cash App. Support so we can continue to do this. All right, we'll be right back. And one of the best games all year.
No, it was great. We actually practiced. Federal. Switchy Frank. Let's go. Come take a ride through my city life.
You know, it's going to be, you're in a home now. It's going to be hard to dig out of that hole. You know,
this is city living, mostly them city children. From my bedroom, see the lights of them city buildings. Ain't gotta act hard, Private's my backyard. I run road out, you can call me a track star. And we a team, homie, all is one. I don't sleep until all is done. I ain't ruckus, so please don't call me Mr. 401. It's Mr. Rags, you can call me, I'm still in that 401. From where we was, look at all the come. For what it's worth, I put my all in the sun. Know that my city love it. Think I give about my city's budget, about my city's public, know how my city does
West Elmwood Intruders. There's a lot of guys that deserve opportunities, but for some reason the city is fumbling. They're fumbling. They're really fumbling. I mean, we can get into it, Mike. You know the story. I was at Juanita Sanchez.
I have to thank, Coach Dino Campopiano and his staff over at Shea.
If you come out freshman year, man, I tell my nephew, we're building that foundation 7th, 8th grade, and we're on record in 9th grade.
That's right. You're on record in 9th grade. You know what I'm saying? So get on point, man. Coach Piver, what's up, man?
How we doing?
Can't even almost see you, man. You look like the boogeyman out there.
I'm walking through the woods over here in Cumberland, waiting for my kids to come out of the haunted house.
Hey, be careful walking through the woods, man. Can't make no walking through the woods, memes. My kids can't, we got to notice that, no Halloween, you got to wear, it's flannel day. You can't even wear costumes no more, these damn school departments. Slap them in the face. What's up, Coach? How you doing?
Doing good. I'm going to try to get to a lighter spot for you.
Yeah, nah, it's all good. We're gonna have Coach McCormick on after you. I wanted to squeeze you in here to talk about your kid. You had a I
Awesome.
think you had a decent season. It could have been a whole lot better, things that were beyond your control. How do you overall feel about this season?
Like I've always said, if we compete, I'm happy, and I think we competed every single week. These last couple weeks in particular, we've really played well and played tough. Gave Coventry a scare, gave Charahoe a scare, played Middletown pretty tough for 3 quarters. Um, we're playing pretty good football. The kids are excited to be playing football, which is I think the biggest thing for us. And overall, I'm happy with it.
Cole Vowell's playing good football. He just broke into my 1,000-yard club, 55% completions, 8 touchdowns. What did he
Yep.
run for, like 590 some odd yards? Another 5 tutties right there.
Yep.
You can't say enough about Cole.
And that I haven't even put in the this week's stats. He probably had close to 200 yards throwing and another couple of touchdowns rushing this week. So he had another pretty good week. So I bet you he finished with probably 1,200 yards passing, 9 or 10 touchdowns, and then 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns. He might have got to 700 yards rushing. I'm not sure. He didn't do too much on the ground this week. It was more in the air, but yeah, he's been great for us.
Of course, the popular one to talk about is Zach. We'll get to him in a minute, but how about Isaiah Chauvin? 25 receptions for like 350 and 3 touchdowns. You had guys step up this season.
Yeah, and Isaiah's a kid who came to us last year, right, for the first time as a junior. I would have loved to have seen what that kid would have been able to do if he'd have come out as a freshman and played 4 years from us. His twin brother, Azariah, came out this year, never played, came out this year to help us out and was our starting safety and one of our receivers, one of our return men. I can't say enough about those two twins. We call them Twin Magic, and when the ball hits their hands, something good usually happens. They've both been good for us all year.
Even though the playoff scenario's done, there's still a whole lot of football. So many great kids on your team. Aiden, had a great season, almost 300 yards. And we can't forget, was CJ Reposer on the O-line defensive line. Adu Shaker, Dylan Pat, Ryan Stetch, all these guys played great for you this season. And will you only be able to put 13, 14 kids on the field each season? I gotta say, I think you guys had a very positive. Could have been better, but it could have been worse, Coach.
Oh, for sure. And there's a lot of talent in those 6 or 7 guys that we've mentioned so far. We'd like to have more guys there to support them. I think we were probably a couple guys away from being a pretty good football team. But the guys you mentioned all came and all worked hard every day and all wanted to do the right things and be part of a football program. So whether they have stats or not, or whether they play offensive line, or whether they're seniors like my man Greg, came out first year, never played before, showed up to the weight room, wanted to try football his senior year. He came out. He didn't play much in terms of varsity snaps, but he was part of a team. And I think that's what he was looking for. And he showed up every day, worked hard, was on our scout offensive line, our scout defensive line, and contributed the best way he could. So guys like Greg Casey for us were just as important as Cole Vowels.
Absolutely. Coach, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on since I couldn't get you on Friday and you was, more than willing to step up today. Really appreciate it. We're going to get Ryan McCormick, UMass Dartmouth,
Awesome.
up next. I'm going to sign off, come back on in about 5 minutes. I want to talk about all the great kids they have up there at UMass. 33 Rhode Island football players, New England Bowl champions last year, playing great football, beat a tough Bridgewater team. So
Yeah.
Definitely. Look, kids, play hard because recruiters are watching all you guys, you know.
Hopefully we have a couple of guys that would be good fits there. I think they might be. So I know I've reached out to Ryan. Ryan's going to get with me, and hopefully some of my guys find their way, at least to think about UMass Dartmouth.
And if I would give kids a message, and coaches should relay this message, recruiters all over that are reaching out to kids in Rhode Island are having trouble even getting phone calls returned. So even if you don't want to go to that college, these recruiters all pretty much kind of know each other and stay in a small circle. Once they start spreading, hey, this kid's like, don't want to call me back. I called them 8 times, so at least call these guys back. That would be my message to these kids. Don't sleep on any program because you got D1 schools now that are, players that are knocking down the doors of D3 programs just to get in with the portal.
Definitely not. And it's always about what impression you leave, no matter who you leave it with. You never know who the person walking into the restaurant that you decide to hold the door open for is. And you never know.
No, exactly. I heard plenty of stories like that. Oh, this kid was disrespectful to this coach because the way the coach looked, and it turned out to be a Michigan coach.
Yep.
So
I preach that all year, and all the time to, be your best person all the time, and the football will take care of itself. But absolutely, they're getting to that age where a return phone call or a return email means something.
Absolutely. But Coach Piper, thank you. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna reset. We're gonna get back with Coach McCormick. Any last words?
Yeah. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to our girls cheerleading team who finished second in their game day cheer competition on Saturday. We had quite a few of our boys there supporting them. They've supported us all year. I just wanted to let them know how much we appreciate them and how proud of them we are. And we were proud to be in those stands cheering those chants with them on Saturday. And there was no place we would have rather have been. And, thank you for doing all that they do for us. And, we're proud of them. Congratulations on their second place finish on Saturday. And, we just want to show some love to them.
That's a fact. That's how it should be. We should be supporting each other in our programs. And I also want to get you back on here and to have a couple words about Coach Glenn. From what I understand, he was loved in the community. So
he sure was.
I would definitely invite you back on here to talk about that.
Today was a special day for those guys, I think, at the Express games. And I had the privilege to coach with Glenn for a year. And, it was to be able to call him a friend and to be able to know that type of guy was helping coach my son when he was little. It means the world to us. I'm pretty picky with who I let coach my kids and all that stuff. And Glenn was one of the good ones, and he's sorely missed in our football community here in North Smithfield for sure.
There you go. So shout out to Coach Glenn. Prayers to his family, prayers to people in the community. But we're definitely we're gonna hook back up with Coach Piper this week. I think there might have been someone else on Facebook that messaged me that said they would like to say something, and anyone else in the North Smithfield football community, the Express community that knew Coach Glenn, that played sports with Coach Glenn, that coach with Coach Glenn, they are more than welcome to come on here and say a few words, and this is what this platform is here for. So, Coach,
excellent.
Thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Anytime you need me, I'm here.
Yes, you are, man. All right, Coach Piper, have a good one.
See ya.
All right, Coach Piper, now we're going to have Coach McCormick. I'm going to get him up in here. I'm just going to take a quick break. I'm going to put something on for you guys. Give me 1 second. But yeah, so travel football's coming. High school football playoffs are coming. We still should talk about that a little bit, but we're going to get Coach Piper up in here, and we're gonna get Coach McCormick up in here in 1 second. I just gotta go get a quick drink, so let me play a video. Hold on. Four on one. Nothing you can do to them. They locked up a guy. Like, like Charlie is not. Charlie's not either. And I wanted to post this picture. I kind of love the father-son thing at these games because, success in football, I think, is playing.
Mic you up, and I was super confused. And I asked her, I said, well, why me? And she goes, well, you were elected to do it. And Coach Vin, he's a great guy. But kind of what you were saying earlier about like Coach Eddie, I don't think he's much of a media guy. And he said, go see the big guy. So she came up to me, she mic'd me up, and it was a wrap after that. I had a great time doing it. Able to showcase my passion and love for the game.
Absolutely. Mic'd up segment of the year. You asked me. I thought Jeff Marcone's was okay, but yours was like you hit it out the park. I mean, Lima has all-time worst of all time. But you hit that out the park, man. Great. And it gave us some great conversation about a first down this week.
I know. I saw that. It was honestly, with that whole play, it's a bang play. It is what it is. It could have went either way. If you look at it, we had an angle being on our sideline, and obviously, I said what I said, and that's how I felt. Obviously, but it was a great game overall too. Like I said in my post about it, it was from start to finish. It was a great, hard-hitting, great game to watch and be able to coach and be a part of.
Absolutely. That was a great job. It gave us great conversation. And I don't think, and right before that, there was an offsides that wasn't caught. So, you win them, you lose them. West Warwick had an offsides and that wasn't picked up on. So you win some, you lose some, but I think you're doing a great job, and you're doing a great job over there. And coming from Situate and stuff, did you think you'd be coaching so fast?
It's funny you brought this up. I was talking with somebody about this the other yesterday, and it's really surreal how everything turned about. When everything happened at Situate, I was ultimately trying to, just like Coach Insco, stay with the program. Because we had been there since 2020 and we had built like a culture, and we were trying to be, consistent for these kids and try to change a culture that we felt didn't have one. When, I was brought upon the news that they weren't going to hire anybody a part of our previous staff, it was a little bit of a damper, and a letdown to me, because I know what type of coach I am and why I am a coach, and for the right reasons. So when I went through.
Okay, here we are. We back. My voice should be good. We're gonna bring in Coach McCormick up next. UMass is just playing good football right now. Bringing in all the right people. Coach McCormick, what's going on? How you doing?
What's going on, Mikey?
All right, welcome back again. Good game last night. Playing good football. Bring us back. Like, what's the experience at UMass this season?
We have a good balance of older and younger kids. I think that's the biggest thing. I think, every week different guys produce. There's obviously every week there's consistent guys doing what they do, but I think that like a new a new like GoDaddy shows up each week. I mean, if you look at the stats week to week, there's obviously some consistencies, but then there's some guys that raise the bar for their week, so to speak. So I mean, you can't stop just one guy or scheme. So I think that's really a good foundation for a team.
And going against Bridgewater, from what I was reading, had some good offense up. They had some good stats. They must have been a team that made you a little bit nervous this week.
Yeah, very nervous. They have a lot of good moving parts. They have a good coaching staff, and their quarterback's a big, strong kid, and their offensive line solid. And their running backs, one of the better running backs in the country statistically. He's got great vision. Their defense they got a bunch of guys that can really ball. When we were getting ready for this game, we were really worried about a bunch of their kids schematically. I mean, their linebacking core is very athletic. They can run. They produce a lot of turnovers on defense because of that linebacking core. And one of their corners is really good. The Al's kid out of Rhode Island. He's out of East Providence. And I think he's one of the top, statistical DBs in the conference, one of the top ones in the country. So we kind of knew we had our hands full, but we were prepared very well for them. So, for example, their linebacker number 45, Brendan Albert, who's a senior for them out of Canton, Mass. Last year, he was the statistical champion, they call it. What that means is they led the country in forced fumbles. So, he was a big-time producer getting turnovers for their defense. And the other kid, the Sylvia kid out of Dayton, Rehoboth, Mass, Steven Sylvia, he's really fast and he gets the ball and he gets a lot of he causes a lot of havoc. So, and they bring different types of pressures. They'll blitz 2 linebackers, 3 linebackers. They'll run twists on the D line. They'll multiple different types of pressures and they cause a lot of problems for teams. So, I mean, we knew we kind of had to play a perfect game to beat them. So,
going back to early on in the season, you had a great game against Husson, and then the Anna Maria game just stands out when I was looking at the points against. I was like, that can't be right. But you guys after that seemed to be able to make the adjustments and fix everything you had to fix.
Yeah, we had never played. The thing was that Anna Maria, and I'm good friends with a bunch of guys in their staff. In 2018, 2019, they had gotten a hair better because before that they had some rough years. And so they brought in a guy named Dan Maroney, who was a really good coach. He had played at Boston College and coached all over the place from WPI to BC. And he kind of knew how to build the program from an infrastructure standpoint. And so he brought in a really good staff, and he brought in their OC's a good coach, and who's now the head coach because Dan has moved on to Division II, the Division II head coach. And so they had a really strong team in 2021. During COVID, they really went in the portal and got a lot of transfers. They got a lot of kids they didn't have on the roster before. And then in the 21 season, they won their conference was the ECFC. And, and went into the postseason, into the NCAA tournament, lost to a very strong Delaware Valley team. They're nicknamed Del Val. So they had a lot of good explosive players. I think anytime you play somebody new you've never played before, there's I think that's what you're seeing this year in Rhode Island high school football with all the new teams and new divisions. It's like new matchups, teams you've never seen before in film. They used to prepare for every year. That gets different. So I mean, we'd prepared for them a lot on film, but it's one thing to see them on film. It's another thing to see them in person for the first time. We were at their place up in Paxton, and they got a pretty darn good crowd for a school of 1,300 people. And they had all their guys healthy. They were all guns blazing. So there's a bunch of factors that led into the start of that game being not great for us. Do I think the coaches took them lightly? No, we knew they were a good football team and had a lot of moving parts. I don't think the kids really believed us when they said they were good because before 19 they weren't good. So I think that they didn't realize this is a whole different team we're playing, and and they got into the game, it was kind of like a shock that they could do some things that they did in the first half. So, anytime you take an opponent lightly in any facet, you're going to struggle, especially when you don't know that you've never played before. So, we kind of fixed a lot at halftime and came roaring back pretty quickly. But we ran out of time. I mean, we were down, a big chunk that game. I mean, literally, we put ourselves in a massive hole, and anytime you put yourself in a hole that big, it's hard to dig out of the hole. So, we're on the road, which is not easy, but, they were a good football team. We knew they were a good football team, and, it was you didn't want to lose, but I think in the long run, it was a good loss in the sense that it woke us up. Anyone can beat anyone on any given day, and so that was kind of like what's up.
Absolutely, and if you want to lose, I guess that is the time to lose because you guys seem to get it straightened out and been statistically Angel Sanchez, phenomenal, just playing great football. Statistically, would you say the best wide receiver in the country?
Yeah, according to statistics, he is. I mean, he every week he's produced and he's very athletic and he's got good ball skills with the ball in his hand once he's got the ball. So I mean, he can do a lot of things. I mean, the nice thing is that everybody thinks we just have him and he's really good, obviously, and really explosive. But we have a plethora of guys in our roster that can do stuff at the wide receiver position. He's just one of the many, and they all have different skill sets they're really good at. So it's, he can do a lot. He can catch verticals. He can do double moves. He can run pause routes. He can run key routes. He can run inside routes. He can run outside routes. He can do all the routes of the route tree, so to speak. Although we don't use a route tree really, so to speak. We use concepts, but he can do it all. We have different receivers that are really good at certain things, and you'll see week to week based on the opponent that will do the things based on what we think is the best game plan to attack them. So, in the game this week, you look at it, statistically, the number of receivers getting the ball is pretty impressive. I mean, it's actually quite impressive. I mean, in the game, we had a bunch of guys getting the balls thrown them. I mean, in our game,
I even seen Angel Sanchez only the most reps he ever had was like 7, 8, or 9 reps per game, and the last game was 4 reps, and still had great yards.
Yeah, I mean, he had 4 catches, and what we noticed was that if you spread the ball around, it's a problem for them. I mean, the Zednick kid out of Johnson, Rhode Island, had 4 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown. The little kid had 5 catches for 89 yards. Sanchez had 4 catches for 63. Brightman had 1 for 29. Easton Coleman, 3 for 28. Winston De Leon had 1 for 17. One of our running backs, Gonzalez, had 1 for 13. Isaiah Cole had 1 for 5. So, I mean, and Mike Vincent had 1 for 5. They're all, he was spreading the ball around to all these different guys. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ball catchers. That's a lot of guys catching the football. So, and they're all producing by very good numbers. I mean, when you're trying to throw for 349 yards and you get the ball to 9 different people, you're doing a good job at the office.
That's a fact. You have UMass seems to be a team that gets their freshmen involved early. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, for example, Jacob Gibbons out of Providence, Rhode Island. He lives in East Providence originally, but he played at LaSalle in Providence. He had 1 carry for 8 yards. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's an 8-yard per carry average is pretty good. I mean, right now for the year, his statistics are pretty good. I mean, to give you an example, as a freshman for rushing, Jacob is averaging 9.4 yards a carry. So I mean, that's a pretty good yardage, and he's got a touchdown this year as a true freshman. Malik White, another freshman. He's averaging 7 yards a carry. He's from Massachusetts. Napoleon DeBarros had a carry for 13 yards, and then he got hurt in the Fishburne game with a high ankle sprain. But, he was producing. So, I mean, all these guys are doing some good things. I mean, there's no lack of production. I mean, I give you an example for the season. We have one back carrying it for 6.5 yards a carry, one for 9.9, one for 6.2, one for 5.2, one for 9.4, one for 7.1, another one for 7.5. I mean, those are some great yards per carry. So I mean, that's multiple different running backs. So I mean, the guys are doing a good job.
Your quarterback has a 152.95. Is that QBR?
That's a very good question.
Under pass and under your stats individual.
That's his QBR. That's quarterback rating. Yep.
That's unbelievable, is it not?
Yeah, those are good numbers. I mean,
173 for 299 for 2,600 yards for 23 touchdowns, as long as being 75. And he didn't get much playing time in high school when I actually looked back on it. So that's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, when he was a junior, Cumberland had him at wideout. They had another quarterback that they had played at quarterback, kid last name Leonard, and then when Leonard graduated, they moved him to quarterback. But he was a quarterback when he was younger. I think, I guess, I don't really know the details. It seemed to me that they used him at the wide receiver position because he was also a good athlete, and the other person that played quarterback wasn't as athletic in space. So their philosophy was, I guess, I'm assuming, and this happens in a lot of high schools, is that try to get the best players on the field, multiple best players in the field. So I guess that's why they did it. That's their decision. That's what they did. And the good thing is he was always fighting to be the guy at Cumberland, and kind of mirrors a Tom Brady, Michigan type story. So where he was always fighting to get on the field. So when he got here, he was not shy to competition. And, that's why I recruited him. He was very driven. So a lot of people said no to him at quarterback, and we said yes. So, we support him through the process, and that's why he's a starting quarterback. So, I mean, he's thrown for 2,624 yards. He's averaging, right around 300 yards a game passing, but he also has, rushing yards too. I mean, for the year, he's got 161 yards rushing. So, I mean, he's, got all-purpose yards, 161 plus, the 2,624. You're talking, 27, almost 2,800 yards total offense. That's a lot of yards, and you still have a game left. So he's putting up some numbers for sure.
Absolutely. Everyone knows Coach McCormick. You recruit heavy in Rhode Island. You like the Rhode Island area for kids that are looking to go to college in this area. What should they be doing right now?
I mean, one, get their stuff out. I mean, we reached out to a lot of kids. We're never going to bring a kid on campus that's we don't think can play here. So that's just our philosophy, and some people won't agree with it, but it seems like it's working. Have your grades up. I mean, we can't take students that aren't good students. It just doesn't work. I mean, you won't get admitted, and they just won't work from that standpoint. So, but I mean, academically is big, and then athletically they got to be able to produce. I mean, you got to produce like the rest of these guys are producing to fit in our scheme on offense, and same thing on defense. I mean, give you an example. I mean, a defense, just for who's played in the games from Rhode Island, I can look at our production. You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Seven. Yeah, you got 8 Rhode Island players playing defense for us.
That's incredible. Do you get to? You do all the traveling you do. How many games a year in Rhode Island football do you actually get to?
Well, I try to get as many as I can. It's I liked how they were doing the Thursday night games for a while. That made it great because I leave practice and I'd shoot to the closest Thursday night game I could get to because it was great. And I know the college coaches are talking about that. We were all talking, with each other, with DMing from different programs, how that was a great thing they were doing, like one game a week, and they were getting actually a lot of fans too. And they seemed to like stop it. I don't know what the reason was. I don't know if it was just.
I think they did it because the number of officials they had, so they can kind of limit the amount of Friday night games to be able to get
Makes
all the
sense.
games
I mean,
in. But
logistics. I mean, I to me, I know the game against the East Providence St. Ray's game early in the year. There was like coaches, myself. There was Willie Edwards from Brown there. There was guys from Rhodey there. There was guys from Central Connecticut there. I mean, there's a good chunk of coaches there. So I mean, I know the Anna Maria guys had guys there. So Assumption had guys there. I mean, there's a lot of college coaches because it was convenient, the timing of it. And so like it was nice when they were doing it, and then they kind of backed off. I don't know what this, why they stopped doing it, but they were doing it for a while. My suggestion is get one Thursday night game a week. It would be great, and rotate which level. It doesn't matter if it's Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, Division 4. Like, people want to see games and see kids, and but I try to see as many as I can. I mean, I try to fit in, if I can, part of 2 games every Friday night. That's my goal minimally. Because sometimes there's games at 6 and then there's a game at 7, and I can get to most of the first game and then the back end of the second game. I like to see kids play in person because then I can kind of get a better evaluation of their personality, dealing with like pressure and what the score is, and because if you can't play in front of a high school crowd, you can never play in front of a college crowd. So it's very hard to, at least. So I mean, I think as many games I can get to.
Hey, there you go. This week there's going to be some good games already. Bishop Hendricken is playing Central. LaSalle's playing NK. Westerly, Cumberland. What do you think about these playoff matchups? We're going to save your unless you want to give your predictions now, but we'll save that for the coaches pick them this week. But what do you think about these D1 games? Of course, there's only 2 of them.
I mean, the D1 games, I think it comes down to who's healthy. I mean, it's hard to, in this late in the year, depending on, weather and who's healthy dictates a lot of the games. I mean, I think the 4 D1 teams have been fairly close with each other. I mean, NK had kind of a semi-lopsided game against LaSalle earlier this year. Again, I think it all depends on who's healthy. I mean, it seems like Central's gotten dinged up a little bit recently, but they've been very tight with a lot of these games. They played Hendricken tough. They played fairly tough against LaSalle. I don't think the D1 games have been like years past, especially before COVID. It seemed like LaSalle and Hendricken were just absolutely eviscerating the other teams. I know Dante's senior year, he gave Hendricken a game when he was at Cumberland. That was what really kind of sold me on him, where he didn't have quite the same amount of horses they had, and really took him to the wire. So that was kind of sold me on his ability. That was like the final check the box. But, there's been other years where those 2 programs really dominate by scoreboard and physicality the other D1 teams, and that really hasn't happened this year. I think they've been very good chess match games. I mean, LaSalle Hendricken was a down to the wire game. I think LaSalle Central was a down to the wire game. I think LaSalle had a little bit more firepower at the end as far as spreading the field than Central did, though it wasn't like they beat them by 20. It was a pretty close game. I mean, that's the thing I noticed this year is that those 4 teams have been fairly comparable. So I think what's going to happen is it depends on who's healthy. Weather could play a factor, I mean, it's hard to throw in like pouring rain and wind if it's like that, So, that will factor into those D1 games. I think they pretty much know each other now. So like, there's going to be no like shock, like what each one can do with each other as far as ability. So, I mean, you may not see Hendrick and LaSalle at the end. You may see somebody else. It's hard to tell. I mean, I know this. I mean, they all have players, and they all have players who can play at the collegiate level. That's a definitive. So, and I don't think it's always been that way in the past to the volume. I mean, Central's got multiple college players in that roster, multiple athletic, fast kids, and it seems like their coaching staff's evolved and gotten better every year, and they've been more competitive every year. So, I don't think Central's going away. I think Central's going to keep getting better. I mean, NK, they've gotten better. When Gil Martin was head coach, he kind of rebuilt the program himself single-handedly. and then he handed off to Fran. And he's kind of taken the torch forward. The biggest thing I think about NK is they have great infrastructure with their stadium and their facilities, and they built that new high school, and it's a very nice looking building. And I think it's really been a big help to their program. I mean, you look at the schools that have good programs. There's a lot of infrastructure behind it. Wesley, great infrastructure. Cranston West, great infrastructure. Portsmouth, great infrastructure. Moses Brown, Middletown. Even Rogers has really come on now. And I said earlier in a podcast earlier this season, I said, wait till that offense gets going. Once you kind of implement the wing T and really get the intricacies going, now you're seeing them start to put up some points. So that's an offense that's hard to implement. It takes time to do. But once you get it rolling, it can be pretty much a pain in the butt to stop. So it can produce a lot of points in a quick span if it's done right. So, I mean, head coach at Rogers is the next college coach I coached with, so he knows what he's doing. So, Rogers is better, and that's why they're in the playoffs in D3. Middletown equally has a guy I played with, I coached with in college, Matt Kessler, and Matty's really got that thing cranking. So, I think that's why they're both in the playoffs in D3, Rogers and Middletown. They're starting to come on. West Warwick, I watched them multiple times this year, and it seemed like they started to really hit their stride. They had taken down Cranston West, which is a big win. A D1, former D1 team that's got a lot of firepower. And, I saw them this past Friday night, and they seem too comfortable. And what I mean by that is, like, they're really rolling some teams, and they got some great players, and a bunch of players we're looking at for sure. And, I think they took the team they played lightly. And whenever you do that, I get very cautious because it leads to bad things. So, now, I'm not saying the coaches did, but the kids internally sometimes they see a team on paper and they see a team on record and say, oh, they're not very good. And, you got them in your house and they come in there and they shock you. And so we've been through it in the past and we've learned from it. And so now we don't take anyone lightly. So I think they'll get back on path. And I think it's in a way was good for them. Wakes them up and said, hey, anyone can come in here and beat us. We don't play, don't crank it up. So I'm sure that staff will fix their mistakes and next game somebody will be in for a not fun afternoon against or Friday night against West Warwick. So, it's sometimes a loss is a good thing to wake you up as long as it doesn't hurt your season as far as like being knocked out of postseason but they're good. I think D2 and D3, anyone can beat anyone on the right night. So that's what I've seen teams are knockout teams they shouldn't. And then other teams are beating teams they shouldn't or losing teams they shouldn't. So, and it's, I think that's the tough thing with the picks for coaches is like you think a team's going to roll one team and the next thing you know, it's like, whoa, where did that come from? And that's happened every week now. So,
it's been exciting every week, man. Like, it's been so great. Like, very rarely you have like an 8-2, 9-1 week, like 10-0 is unheard of. Coach Goodhart did it once this season. I'll tell you what, that Barrington game, it sticks on the back of Westerly's neck, I think, like a bad pimple that they can't get off. I think that hurts them when they look back on the season. But they got the number 2 seed, so but yeah, it was unbelievable. Like, Woonsocket is in the playoffs now. Barrington beats Woonsocket. They get knocked out. Shea didn't have a game. Shea makes it. It's just gonna be exciting in Division to East Providence. Everything went East Providence's way. They had to beat Burrillville. They needed Mount Pleasant to lose 2 in a row. So they're in the playoffs. Woonsocket's in the playoffs after losing 4 in a row. Very interesting, man. Charahoe, they barely beat North Smithfield, a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, there's gonna be some great games.
Yeah, again, I think that the barely beat North Smithfield. They probably took them lightly. They'll never, and people will never admit it, but let's be honest. If they play their A game, they should beat that team. As far as that's a big enrollment. That's Charo is a big school with a lot of kids, and there's a large enrollment there. It's a large population to pull from. And we're looking at a bunch of Charahoe's kids, and they have some players for sure. And they're running a scheme that's kind of unique. It's not originally running more of a traditional wing team, and they started kind of morph. So I think what they're running right now fits their kids in that scheme, and it's made them better. And I mean, they're definitely going to shock some people in the postseason. So, but those kids are on that state championship team that are the runner up when they lost in the tournament in the Super Bowl last year, and they had against Narragansett, a very loaded Narragansett team. Narragansett had a plethora of seniors that went on to play college football, with a bunch of which we recruited. And I think Narragansett's realizing they have a lot of injuries right now from talking to their coaches, and we're looking at a bunch of their kids that are a handful of kids that are seniors, a couple, but they've had a ton of injuries. They don't really have a set quarterback, so to speak, right now. So they had to move a running back to quarterback. I'm talking to those guys, and that's never the ideal situation because then it's less guys to serve the ball to. So, yeah, I mean, Narragansett, they've always had a strong program. They have smart coaches. Their head coach is a really bright guy. I played against him in high school, Coach Blessing. So he was a great quarterback that brought them to the state title game in '91 against Westerly, and we ended up beating them. But he could really sling it and understood at a high level throwing the ball. And so, I mean, their DC is a smart guy, been around football forever. And he said to me, we talked a while back that he's got 8 starters out or something crazy like that number. And this was a couple weeks ago, and so I'm sure they're going to slowly one by one come back from the injuries, unless they're a season-ending one. But I think of it like us, like if you lose 8 starters, that's pretty catastrophic. So it's hard, especially at high school, when you don't have a ton of depth. So I give those guys credit because it's a very small enrollment there. Against enrollment, I think it's 4 and change, and barely, not even quite 200 boys in school. So I mean, to be able to have, even 30, 40 football players at school that size is not easy. So they have a lot of success, but, now they're up at a higher division with, I think they graduate 4 or 5 college football players at least that are playing collegiate football. I mean, they got a kid playing at Bryant, and he's pretty good. They got a kid at Division II scholarship host. They got a kid at Wesleyan. Where else do the guys go? I forget off the top of my head, but they got kids all over the map playing. So, I mean, from last year's team. So, I mean, anytime you got that many collegiate football players, leave your roster, it's kind of hard to replace them all. So, I mean,
absolutely.
It's they're just not. I mean, think about 94% of kids that graduate high school don't go on to play college. So, they lost that 5-6% level athlete in multiple of them. So, I mean, you can be the best X's and O's guy and best designer you want, but if you don't have the same horses that somebody else has, sometimes the mountain's too big to get over. So, I mean, that's why at our level, recruiting is the whole show. I mean, you got to have if you don't have great recruiting, you're in trouble. So, yeah. So, I mean, you got to have the cats. That's a big thing.
One other question before I let you go. I noticed, from some other recruiters, what seems to be an issue is kids returning phone calls. Has that been an issue with your program? And would you recommend, what would you say to kids, that when a recruiter calls them, how to handle it?
Well, I mean, we've had kids ghost us, and I don't really know why. I mean, we're a top 10% ranked academic school. We have every major but phys ed, and we don't have phys ed. And besides that, we pretty much have every major there is practically. And so, I mean, every one of our majors have the highest accreditation you can achieve. So, I mean, not every school can say that. And I mean, athletically, I mean, we're the number 3 offense in the country. I mean, we're the number 1 first down offense in the country statistically. If you go on ncaa.org, you go under statistics and go to the drop down for Division III, and there's different categories. You can look up each by category. And, after this past week, we're number 3 in total offense a game and in total offense for the season. And then, we're number 1 in first down offense, which is pretty impressive. So to say, you're not even going to look at us, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know why anyone would not, look at us. But I guess, everybody, has their own whatever. But, I mean, we've had a bunch of kids not return calls. So I don't, what people don't realize, it's a numbers game. I mean, there's 1.1 plus million high school varsity football players. There's just over 600 college programs combined. So, let's say the average programs are bringing in between 25 and 40 freshmen, let's say, or freshmen / transfers. Let's say that's the range. a lot of these bigger programs, the D1s, FCSs, FBSs, are half their classes now are transfers. So, if they had 20, let's say they had 25 freshmen coming in, now they have probably like 10. Last time I checked, 10 times 100 D1s is 1,000 kids for FBS, and FCS another 100 change schools. You're talking just over 2,500 kids total at a high school going scholarship, Division I scholarship football in the whole country a year. It's not a very big number at 1.1 million. So, if you're blowing off coaches and not giving the time of day, and then, what usually happens I've seen is that we get deep in the process and, they come back around begging to get in your program because they have nowhere to go or nowhere good to go. And they realize they made a big mistake. So I tell people, don't do that. That's a bad game plan. I tell people what you should do is if a school really likes you and they have your major and it's a financially reasonable cost, and it meets most your check the boxes, give them the time of day. Like, go visit the school, go see what the program's like, and let it play out the end. Like, there's no one saying you have to go to this one school if you visit it or, as far as committing. Like, I tell people, go look at if you got an FCS program like a Bryant or Rhodey or Brown looking at you, go look at them. I mean, but people forget that their most important most important commodities are time. And like, if I'm giving you time to try to reach out to you to have you look at our program, that means I'm not taking that time to somebody else. With 1.1 million people, I can't recruit 1.1 million people. So that's a lot of kids. So I got to pick and choose what we're looking at. So, and that's with all our coaches. So, I mean, we're going to break it down by your academics. We're going to break it down by your ability. We're going to break it down by, like, how much of a good character person you are. And that's going to funnel that number down. And then we're going to rank people on our recruiting board. And then we're going to offer kids. And then once that room is full with the kids we want, we shut that room down, so to speak. Meaning, for example, let's say we had to bring in, 2 running backs this class for a round number. Let's say we have 50 running backs on the board we want. We're going to rank them by the best to the worst. And, some of the best ones are going to Division I, and that's part of the deal. But if you can get your, say, second best on the board at 50 and then your third best, well, then we're going to shut that room down. We're done recruiting running backs that class. They commit to us, they sign with us, and that room's done. And then, meanwhile, we're working the other rooms like offensive line, defensive line, linebackers, safeties, corners, wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. Like, you only have so many spots and slots for each room. And so you're not just going to bring in like 30 quarterbacks. Why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. So, that people don't realize that, like, do the numbers. You got roughly about 600 college football programs, Division I FBS, Division I FCS, Division II, Division III. The average team is going to bring in 2 to 3 quarterbacks a class. Well, okay, what's 3 times 600? That's 1,800 people. That's 1,800 quarterbacks the whole class. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe bring in 4. So let's say 2,000. Well, that's 2,000 quarterbacks that class, period, across the whole country. There's probably got to be, 50,000 quarterbacks that class. I mean, so do the math. I mean, it's not a lot of cats getting to play quarterback in college, getting recruited. So they're giving you the time of day, give the time back, because if you don't, your spot you think is going to go somewhere else could be gone in a blink. I mean, I've seen schools, especially the Division I level, offered a dozen quarterbacks, and once they get the 2 best ones they want, or the best first and third one they want, they shut the room down and say, sorry, we're not offering you anymore. We're pulling the offer. So, like, that's what happens. And so,
and you get a kid like, but I thought you thought wrong.
And don't play games with recruiting, because all these college coaches talk. I mean, don't become that kid. I mean, it's not a smart move. We're all doing the same deal. We're all trying to get kids and build the rosters. And, so when kids start to play these like games that aren't real, I got an offer from like FIU, and then you pick up the phone and you call someone at FIU and you find out they don't have an offer. It's pretty funny, because like, it's like, oh, well, you don't have an offer at FIU. You're just telling me that. So it's not a smart game.
You must get that a lot,
Yeah, I mean, it does happen. It's kind of comical. We're like, okay, yeah, I know what offer from FIU you have. It's not from the football office. I can tell you that.
I should have had this picture up the whole time.
Oh, the Dante picture, yeah.
It fits in the screen perfect. I just had to slide over a little bit. But Coach McCormick, man, thank you. I appreciate you always being available. for me. I wish more local media would cover UMass.net. I just don't understand it. But you guys keep balling out. I'm hoping for nationals, right? Let's go, UMass. Go
Yeah, I mean, we got to
Cortez.
take care of business the next game. We can't look that far ahead ever. That's a bad thing to do. I mean, it's come up a lot after this game, and obviously, the people that are fans or parents of kids or alumni or that former player alumni or school alumni, it's easy to bring up. I mean, I can almost fall in that trap too, but then I gotta come back down to earth and say, well, I mean, we haven't done anything yet. We're 8-1 and 7-0 overall in the conference, but we still have business to get done. I mean, we gotta get back to basics this week. We gotta really kind of work on some skill stuff that we have to fix, and then week 2 really get rolling into the deep dive game plan because Plymouth, who's our last opponent, we have a bye week between now and Plymouth. They play another game, so they could change some schemes and do some different stuff we haven't seen yet in film. So we can't just not add that into our preparation. It's all part of the deal. I mean, so really for us, we have to prepare for them next. I mean, they're the next people in line. We got to go to their house, and their house is hard to win. We haven't won at their place in a long time. So,
Yeah, I was reading that. I noticed that. But that was also the same thing with Bridgewater, right? You haven't won there in a long time.
We had last beaten Bridgewater at Bridgewater. Well, we beat them last year up there. That was the first time in a long time. We beat them in 2014 up there. But we've only beaten them now, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22. In 8 years, we only beaten them 3 out of 8. So, I mean, that's not really a great number, but we're working on it. So, I mean, we came out on top, and, the score showed a great game and production, but it wasn't easy. Like, people like, oh, you guys, scored this many points, and I can't believe that. Like, and so we weren't picked to win by any media syndicate, and our kids took that to heart. And I said, well, guys, what I said to them, and all our coaches said, our head coach from all the way to our coordinators all said, listen, we haven't done anything yet. What we did all year doesn't matter if we go play this team and get smoked or we get embarrassed at home and not put a good product in the field. And so we locked in and put the pedal to the metal and really get going. I mean, it started with the O-line, the D-line. Those two lines of scrimmage really started to really impose their will. And, what people don't know is a lot of those guys played dinged up a little bit, and they played like they weren't dinged up. I mean, they were locked in mentally big time. So, and then, the skill guys are rolling because the lines are rolling. So, and then obviously, you can't do without one or the other. So, I mean, you can't have great skill guys, no line. That never works. So, our line really kind of they took it personal that they got picked to lose by every single media syndicate on the planet. So
not everyone. I don't count, but I
not you.
picked you, man.
So I'm
Let's
saying
go.
that ones that
I
had
know. I'm just
picked
kidding.
us during the year in a lot of games didn't, and so and I get why. I understand it. Like we had that hiccup game against Anna Maria, against a good opponent. They were really healthy at the time, and Anna Maria's recent losses is because they had a lot of injuries now. And that's a big thing in football. If you don't have your guys, it's hard to win. So, we played them when they were at their best. I mean, they were really like healthy, locked in, and rolling. And they had the whole summer to prepare for Santa Maria. When we played them week 2, they hadn't played a game yet, so they were literally spending all of camp. And then, the week we played Husson, they were getting ready for us. And the week getting ready for them, they were getting ready for us. So they were really, they had a lot of time to look at what we were doing, so which helped them. So the next thing for us getting ready for Plymouth, equally, we have 2 weeks to get ready for them. So there's no reason not to be locked in. I mean, we can actually go see them next Saturday play in person. They're playing Mass Maritime at their place, so that's an advantage. See someone in person, see what they're doing new. The film's one thing. We tag a lot of film, we watch tons of hours of film, but also nice to see them in person and see some little intricacies they may have changed or adapted. So, Mass Maritime's got a good D-line and they got good coaches. I mean, their DC's an ex-NFL coach, an ex-Division I head coach. So, Jim Reed, he's a smart guy and he's really tough to get around his defense. So he'll throw everything but the kitchen sink at Plymouth. So I'm very intrigued to see what happens in that game.
And they slow it down too. Boy, do they slow it down.
Yeah, I mean, so this year they're a little bit more adaptive, so to speak. Like last couple of years, they hold on to the ball, and I call it like football version of keep away, where they eat clock and methodically get body blows on you and try to just crank out yards. And they have these like long 7, 8, 9 minute drives that just eat the clock. And then their philosophy is, it has been, well, at least it has been in the past, is to try to get a score in the first 2 offensive drives and get you in a 3 and out in between those 2 drives. They can do that. They're in business because, now they've eaten, let's say they're 2 8-minute drives, they've eaten more than a quarter of the game on 2 drives. So, if you don't get any points in one of your drives and you get to punt or turnover and downs, now they got you in the way they want you. So,
and they don't get away from that either.
This year, what they've done is, what I've noticed is that if they get past like your across midfield and get past like the 35, 40-yard line, they actually go not tempo, but like, I guess tempo for them. Because they realize they try to like change the tempo of how they're going to catch you. And then when they do that, they score. So, and then as it gets later in the game, if they're up by a decent amount, they go back to slowing it down, just cranking the clock down. So they're doing a little bit different stuff. But
don't give it all away.
But that's what they do. So, so we know what they do, and everybody, it's no mystery. When you have 8, 9 games of film on people, I tell people all the time, like the Division I level, they have a system called XOS Digital. So all the films that you have games of yourself go into this big database. Everybody has access to each other's films. So there's no mystery what people are running. It's coming up with a scheme to stop it, or if you're on offense, a scheme to attack their defense. So, it's not like high school where you have to only give 2 films for a trade up here. We don't have XOS. We have a system through Huddle that's pretty high end we have to put all your film in the system, or you can't get any film out. So, but at the end of the day, it's at the end of the day, it's how much you want to work to like break down film and figure out what you can do to attack a team or to stop a team. So, again, it's another bit. We've told our guys, and we believe this, is that it's like every game like a playoff game right now. Really, like we have to win this game to get to the NCAA's, and so it's if Plymouth was to lose this week against Mass Maritime, then we automatically win the conference at that point because the numbers as far as like wins and losses. Because right now they have 1 conference loss. We have Scheme.
I'll put that back up. Hang on.
Scheme is never a mystery. It's human. I think it's a little bit of combo of both. You still have to execute within the scheme. So like you have to execute within the scheme. Like not that scheme's a mystery, but you could have window dressing to make something look like one thing, it's something else. But yeah, human action, meaning execution is definitely a big deal. But
absolutely, but
that's why you practice. You practice so you can execute things. But yeah, it's our attitude is we gotta take care of business. We gotta be mega locked in. We are. And it's a far bus ride. That's up there in Plymouth, New Hampshire. So, it's not an easy place to play because it's far from anywhere down here. And
is it ever worth going the day before, or is that just too expensive?
Yes and no. We don't. It's very expensive to travel, do overnight traveling for an entire football team. So if you don't have to pay to do an overnight, you don't. But for us, we're going to drive up that morning. But at the end of the day, are these talks of being reclassified?
Are there talks of being reclassified? Maybe is there talks of your program being reclassified, possibly?
But reclassified in what regard?
I don't know, unless maybe the change in the divisions. I'm not sure.
Well, schools can't change divisions like from Division 3 to Division 2 and Division 2 to Division 1 unless all the sports programs move. You can't move one anymore. They don't allow that anymore. Like Norwich University, their hockey team is Division 1 because it's grandfathered in, but they're all the other teams are Division 3. So, but no, right now there's no talks of that. Could it change? Who knows? We're just trying to focus on this season and trying to get, if we believe we can win this game, but again, you got to prepare for the worst case scenario. I mean, they're going to be tough. I mean, I mean, think about it. Let's say they don't lose next week. Let's say they win against Master Maritime. Then essentially, the game at their place is basically the ad hoc conference championship game. It's at their house. I mean, I'm sure their students will be going crazy because if they win the conference. So, and who wouldn't want to win the conference at home? That's a big advantage. So,
absolutely.
So I mean, they'll be ultra locked into it at that point. I mean, now if they lose, and for them the game doesn't matter as far as winning a conference championship because they can't technically. That could be interesting. I don't know. Their coaches are smart guys too, so I would assume they'll have their kids locked in either way. Now it looks like if on paper, if they were to win against Mass Maritime this week, which I think they most likely will, we'll see. Then at that point, the winner of that game with them goes to the NCAA tournament, the 32-team national title tournament, and then the loser would essentially have the opportunity to go to the New England Bowl again. Because, like I said, there's 4 teams that go to 2 separate New England Bowls because there's 5 conferences in New England. The most teams in D3 football in the region is actually New England, numbers-wise. A lot of teams here in New England. So, the New England Bowl is a great opportunity, a great honor. But we feel that we've hit that step in the stairs. We want to get to the next step. So, and
let's go.
Much better. So, what people don't realize is that less than 50 teams make postseason total between bowl games and NCAA tournament and all of Division III football. The other 200 teams go home. They're done. They're out. So, we've been in that realm for a long time before the New England Bowl last year. So for us, to get to that 32-team national title tournament's an honor, and it's a hard tournament. There's some really amazing teams that go in that thing. A lot of ex-Division I athletes, a lot of ex-Division II scholarship athletes, a lot of kids that play in that tournament eventually might end up in the National Football League or the Canadian League or the Arena League. So you see some really high-end kids, and high-end kids across a roster. So, I mean, we don't know if we were to win against Plymouth, we know if we beat them, we get the tournament. So, which is exciting for us. But we're not even thinking about like who that opponent would be at this point because this is kind of fodder because it doesn't really matter. You got to beat Plymouth. So,
exactly.
No matter what happens with them against Mass Maritime, we're going to play that game like it is the conference championship game either way. Even though if they were to lose beforehand, we are basically the conference champions, regardless of what happens to Plymouth game. That's not how we're looking at it. We're looking at it like we need to play our best football yet so far because you need to do that if you want to go and be competitive in the postseason, no matter if it's NCAA's or a bowl game, period. So, I mean, that's just how we're looking at it. I mean, we got to be good. I mean, we appreciate all the positive vibes and people that do love UMass Dartmouth football. I mean, we've gained a lot of fans in the last couple of years. They're, I think, shocked that that basically we have been so competitive. I think it's a lot of it has to do with the work that coaching staff has done. I mean, I don't think our OC ever sleeps. I don't think our DC ever sleeps.
I don't think you ever sleep.
So, I mean, when I get off this podcast with you, I'm going back to tag and film and getting my scouting report ready for Plymouth.
I was just going to say that. I was like, that based on, what I know, you wake up in about another 3 hours.
Probably 5, but yeah.
Mrs. William got to plug you in tonight. Do you get plugged into like the car charger?
Yeah, I'm like a Tesla, I guess. I don't know.
Ryan, man, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you. Good luck to UMass. Good luck to your entire staff. I wish you guys a safe season. And we'll definitely talk again very, very soon.
Thanks, Mikey.
All right. Have a good one, Coach. There we go. We have Coach McCormick. That was great. He's always willing to come on when he has the time. Busy guy. Busy man. But yeah, so, reach out to Coach McCormick if you have kids that are looking to get recruited. Make sure they have the grades. Great school to go to. And no, I'm not on the payroll. Just throw that out there. Some people are like, dang, you're always talking about UMass because I went up there and visited the place a couple times and I was kind of blown away by everything they do and top tier university, right? You're just blown away by everything they offer. So how can you not like it? Plus, I like food courts, and they got an awesome food court. Like, I'm a food court guy. So the freshman dorms definitely have some great places to eat. And I thought, the freshmen get shit delivered to like 4 a.m. Like crazy, crazy, crazy. Congratulations to the Admirals. Don't forget, Behind the Pads 2023 travel schedule coming up. You see the dates up on the screen. Shout out to Matt Hoffa, getting a $2.3 million podcast deal. Crazy thing is, he fired everybody when he got the deal. I wouldn't do that. I bring my whole staff, but I don't have much of a staff, so we don't got to worry about that. Shout out to my guy, Chris DePaulo, man. We're going to be breaking down a video that Chris DePaulo sent, so, yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, I think that is about it.
What I mean by that is they say, Coach, put me where you need me. They never complain about playing time. They understand that competition breeds success, and that if they're going to be successful, if they're going to get playing time, they need to compete day in and day out. They also understand that sometimes their role on a team is not being a starter. It's being the best dang scout player the team has to help them get ready for Friday night. So if you don't like that Coach plays favorites, become one of his favorites. Do all...
Not promote or promotion any illegal activities. All content provided by this channel is meant only for educational purpose only.